La-di-da. Let's just tighten this up to 20 Newton meters. Oh no, what's happened? Oh no, I've stripped the thread in my 300-pound shifter. Now what do I do? Don't panic guys, there may be a fix. If you've over tightened your bolt on a Shimano shifter, let me just show you first. That's how tight it needs to be. If you've over tightened it, there may be a fix. So I'm going to show you what you can do to maybe get you out of the doo-doo and save yourself a few £100s. So unfortunately this is a very, very common problem. People go crazy with this screw and they over torque it, they strip the threads out the shifter, and you can't buy a spare part, you have to buy a complete new shifter. So it can be a bit of a disaster. However, we may be able to repair this. So the plan is basically drill out the remains of what's left in there, and then we're going to bond in a brass insert there with an M7 thread, bond that back in, and the lever is repaired. Pretty straightforward on most of them. As long as you've got access to this port here to get the diaphragm out, it's pretty straightforward. If you can't get that out, it's very challenging, because what happens is you drill it through, it snatches the drill, and then it drills through the rest of the lever. Ask me how I know. So we're going to take this cover off, take the diaphragm out, we're going to drill through with an 8mm drill bit, bond that piece in there, let it dry, then we bleed the system, and back on the road. So just remove this diaphragm cover, 3 T8 bolts. You're going to spill some fluid. It's only mineral fluid though, so it won't dissolve your bike like certain other systems. And then just pull that out. There's a little metal sleeve in here, don't lose that. And this is the rubber diaphragm, that's what we need to get out of the way, otherwise we're going to drill through that. Some of these diaphragms are available as spare parts as well, depending on the lever. Like I say, you will spill some fluid, don't worry about it. So the difficult bit really is to drill this through here without going through the entire lever, because what tends to happen is it starts drilling through there, it gets going, then it snatches all the way through there, and there's a disaster. So what I would do is put something behind there so you can use one of the £200 that you're saving for a new lever. Just use a coin in there. If you want to economise, 20p fits in there quite nicely as well. Just anything basically that's going to stop this going through there. So then all we need to do, this is the challenging part really, is just to drill this through. Obviously keep it straight, slow as possible. Drill that through very, very slowly. Very slowly. And that's that. So then you need some kind of insert. So these threads are M7 by 0.75. So I had these made up out of brass and then sliced down basically to the thickness of the shifter there. You don't want it protruding into the shifter. And then that will basically just go in there. We'll be bonding that in with some epoxy. And then we're repaired. So it's pretty straightforward really. Just going to go for a test fit with these parallel pliers just to make sure it sits in there flush, which it will. And that's it. And then the epoxy will just hold that in place. Then your bleed port screw will just screw into there as normal once it's all bonded in, and that's repaired. I'm going to just clean all this out. Basically going to flush this through with brake cleaner here. Let's get any plastic debris out. Just clean this area up, make sure there's no brake fluid in there. We have just drilled it through to fresh plastic anyway, so it should be spotlessly clean. I'm just going to bond that in there. Just using a 5-minute epoxy arrow dye, mix that up a little bit around the actual insert. Bond it in, let it dry for 5 minutes or half an hour. I'll have a cup of tea because it's freezing here. And just mix this up. I have to warm this epoxy up, it's so cold here. These part tool heat guns are fantastic, honestly, so good. Right, that should be warm enough to flow now. Onion board's fantastic. If you're mixing up paint or glue or something, onion board are brilliant. Just literally a disposable piece of paper. Mix out a tiny drop of this, you don't need much. Try and get it to come out the tube equally though, because it's too cold. Right, these are equal. We just need a drop of this. Just mix it up properly. Don't get it on the threads obviously. And then just get that in there straight. Again, I'm just using these parallel pliers just to clamp that in nice and straight like that. I'm just going to let that dry for 5-10 minutes. Just before we continue, I want to take a minute to thank this channel's ongoing sponsor, sportandleisure.com. Sport and Leisure are a UK-based cycling retailer with thousands of parts, tools, clothing and accessories ready to ship. Their listings are clear with proper descriptions and really good photos of the actual items you are buying, which I genuinely appreciate. Some of the other sites I've had to use, oh my god. And here's the best bit, if something's listed as in stock, it really is, sitting on the shelf ready to go. Better still, you can order before 3 PM and it ships the same day. UK shipping is free on all orders, but if you need it next day, it's only £2.50, an absolute bargain. If you're after new wheels, brakes, or even full group set or levers, their prices are pretty much unbeatable. You can still use code BCR10 at checkout on your first order for an extra 10% off the already great prices. So the link's in the description below. Thanks again to sportandleisure.com. Right, that's had 20 minutes now, so that's bone dry, and then it's going nowhere. So that's basically repaired now. Just put this piece back in, make sure this metal sleeve sits in there, because that's got a habit of falling out. Drop that back in. So I think I've only got a couple of those sleeves left now. I'm thinking about getting one of the online companies to manufacture some more. Maybe a useful spare part to keep for you guys. Maybe I could list them on eBay or something as an idea. I've seen a couple of other people do this in aluminium and stuff, but brass is going to be the best material if you can. So yeah, like I say, I'm considering having some more of these made, because it's such a common problem. Right, again, they don't need to be very tight. It's literally just a seal. There's no pressure in this end of the system. The pressure is between the piston and the lever, and the piston in the actual caliper. This is purely a reservoir. Right, done. So it's just a matter of bleeding the system. So what I would always recommend is use a plastic bleed cup. This is a Shimano bleed cup. So you've got no chance basically of damaging the threads in the lever. You have a much reduced chance of damaging the threads in the lever if you're using the plastic one. You get all these fancy stainless and brass ones. I don't use them. I only ever use plastic ones on this. There's a chance potentially while you're doing the job you could knock this as well. If you've got a brass or steel thread in there, you're going to just rip it straight out the lever. So I always personally use the Shimano cups. They do a great job. They're very cheap. Perfect. So just get the back wheel off, get a bleed block in, and we're going to pump some fluid through. Just bleed this lever up. Quite sure what's going on with this axle. Bit of a crazy thing. There's ceramic pistons on this caliper. If you see my video on replacement pistons, just be really careful when you're pushing these back in. Obviously the lever is open, so there's no risk of damaging anything. Just use the pads to push those back in. Much less chance of damaging anything like that. Got one of Shimano's delightful flathead screws here. Oh no. Oh no. These have got such a bad habit of seizing. This could be a big job now. Oh, we got it. If that's seized in, you've got a bad day, honestly. You can drill them out, split the caliper, drill them out and all sorts, but it's just unnecessary pain in the arse. If you do any maintenance on your bike, get a little tiny drop of anti-seize on that thread there, because you don't want that seizing in there. It's only these silver ones that seize. The black anodized ones normally okay. Take the pads out, they're labelled left and right, so you can't really go wrong putting them back in. He's looking really good condition, pretty much brand new actually. Bleed block in there, this is a Shimano one, just clips in. Again, a Shimano bleed kit here is the syringe, and the special fit in there just fits perfectly into the caliper. So again, I'll just use Shimano for these, they're fantastic kits. Right, we'll just elevate the front end of the bike so that the caliper is below the lever a bit more. With those bars locked in place, we can just tip the bike down like this now. Like that. It doesn't need to be a massively dramatic angle, just make sure the caliper is obviously a lot lower than the lever, so the air can just travel upwards. Loosen that off, put this on. That's it, basically. All we're going to do now is flush that through to the lever. So all we're going to do now is just press this syringe at the back, and we're obviously going to get a lot of air into this cup. Just keep going. There you go. Pretty dirty fluid, that's come from the caliper. That's what the customer's trying to do before it went a bit pear-shaped. So that's one syringe full there. I'm just going to get rid of that rubbish. Could be a couple of small bits of plastic flush through as well. Shouldn't be anything, but it could. So it's looking clear of bubbles. I'll just lock this caliper up. So now all I'm going to do is rotate the bike through different angles, burping this lever at the same time. A couple of bubbles to get it right to that top. The lever's feeling good now. Right, so that's all bled up now. I've resealed the system. Lever feels beautiful. I'm going to take this cap out now just to show you a few things, because some people will be concerned that, oh, this might fail and your brakes will fail. Anything above the lever piston basically is a low pressure system. Just take this out. Look how tight I didn't do that up again. People get very confused with this, and that's why they do this so tight. So that's no cap in there now, look, and I'm pressing the lever and the brake's behaving exactly the same. Won't make any difference, guys. So if this does fail, the worst case scenario is this liquid's going to splash out, leak over time. You'll get a wet lever, your brakes will get a bit spongy, so you're going to get plenty of warning. It's not going to be a catastrophic failure if this fails. That feels exactly the same as it does with or without a cap. Okay, there's actually a hole in here, not in the diaphragm, but a hole in this plate which allows air into that diaphragm. and pumps it in and out basically to allow differences in air temperature, differences in air pressure, altitude, etc., and to adjust the fluid level to adjust the pads basically. So it's quite a clever system. So don't worry about this. You don't need to do this at 20 Newton meters. It does virtually nothing. If you think of it like your car, the oil filler cap on top of your engine, that's how tight this needs to be. It doesn't do anything. All it basically does is allows you to put fluid in, bleed the system, and then you're just sealing it up from contaminants basically. And again, I'll show you how tight this is. There's the Allen key, tip of my thumb. That's it, stop there, okay? No more than that, that's all it needs. All you're doing is sealing that O-ring against the top of there. I'm just going to give it a final wipe down, fold this hood back, and then that's ready for collection for the customer. So I hope that helps somebody out. That's repaired, back on the road now. Not the end of the world, like I say. As long as you can get that diaphragm plate out and whatnot, it's a fairly straightforward repair. If you can get hold of the material, brass or aluminium, 8mm, M7, 0.75 tap it through, chop it off, bond it in with the epoxy. Like I say, I hope it gets somebody out of trouble. I mean, it's a very, very common issue. Loads of people do it. This lever on this 105 lever is currently around about £130, I think, at the moment, but if it's a Dura Ace lever with the same sort of problem, you're a lot more money than that. So yeah, it can be done, and it's not the end of the world. So if you did enjoy the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button and like and share, all that great stuff. It really does help the channel grow, and thank you very much for watching.